Hey, thanks, Oleg. So yeah, the subject of today from my end is how to get the salary you want. Now, obviously, this is a title that is a bit like uh, untrue, I have to say already at the start, because there's obviously no one way to actually get it. But at least I'll try to give you as many good actionable tips and kind of help your thinking around the subject as possible. Now, I come from a company called Noise. Just want to say a few words. So we are a stealth startup. We have around 35 people. We're based in Helsinki, Finland. We are doing this social X, playful X platform kind of thing. It does have game elements and whatnot. And we're growing about around 50 people this year. We're looking for like backend engineers doing Golang. We're looking for environment concept artists and whatnot. But you can check out our website for all the available roles as well as the Games Job Fair site. Now, about myself, I have around 8 years of experience. I've worked with 8 companies and done over 200 recruitments. I worked in international recruitment since 2017. Worked on projects such as Control, with Remedy and also Northlight and whatnot, and now at Noise, and before also at Volt and whatnot. So like different kind of platform and gaming companies. So that's where I'm throwing my experience. Now, to start off things, on the philosophy of salary, because I think philosophy is important. When you're thinking about your salary, this is like a really nice sentiment that I happened upon on Twitter, saying basically that at every job you should either learn or earn. Either is fine, both is best. But if it's neither, quit. And this and like these kind of similar thoughts, like learn or earn a job, has been something that has driven me in my career previously, and still does. And then this particular tweet is something that made me, for instance, like change jobs recently. Now, the thing is that if you are able to learn a lot in your like new job or your current job, you feel like it, then like it makes sense that maybe if you don't get that much salary, like okay, well, it's like a reasonable thing for you to exchange, because then you'll be able to grow your skills, which then will earn like increase your earning potential on the long run, right? And it will be able you to feel like happier also usually, and more efficient when you're able to kind of learn new things and whatnot, and you're not just doing the same things over and over again, right? So this is something it's reasonable to think about when you're making these salary negotiations and whatnot, because it might make sense for you to actually ask a bit less or be open for a bit less salary if you feel like, hey, the learning potential is huge here. And then once you learn things, then you can like ask for salary raises. But if you start off with like after that, like actually going towards the salary and what it should be, and on the principles of salary, there is this um, Alena, who I actually hired to Vault as for a team lead position, and with her we were discussing a bit about this subject, and she has pretty good posts about this on LinkedIn, and she's also open for these kind of coaching sessions if you want. So here's her LinkedIn and her name. So feel free to check her out, because some of these thoughts are ones that I've kind of discussed with her and are very much inspired by her. So I want to give her credit where credit's due. Um, so first of all, you should do your research. So what I mean is like you should check out, like if you're looking for a new role, or even if you're looking for the role that you are in at the moment, to check what is the current salary level. You can use different online resources, such as like Glassdoor, there's levels and whatnot. Or in Finland, you can even go to like a local tax office, like physically, and you can like check names of people that you like to know what they are getting for salary. You can put in their name and you can see what they're making, and then you can make your like kind of ideas about like, okay, maybe my salary should be around this. Or you can go and just ask people directly, obviously, like, hey, how much money are you making at the moment? Or how much did you make in your first job? How much did you make in the junior position? And then you can think about like inflation stuff, maybe add a couple percentage points. And then you know like around like the ballpark of where we are moving in the industry. And this is important because then you kind of know initially what to expect in the industry. But then when you think about it personally, you should set your bottom bar. And what I mean with setting your bottom bar is basically thinking about what is the level of salary that would make you feel like miserable at your job. You feel like I'm underpaid. This makes no sense. It's like very difficult and painful for me to be here. I don't feel like I'm being respected enough, and I'm not getting what I'm worth. And then moving up from there by at least like a couple hundred euros or so. And then you have basically a bottom bar. So that's the least amount of money that you're ready to accept. And this should be amount of money that covers your expenses, like, living expenses and whatnot. So you can live and eat sort of normally. But obviously, if you have savings and you're really trying to get that learning potential, maybe you can do something like 6 months to 1 year of like getting less money than what all of your expenses are. But you really need to think about that risk calculation yourself, if that makes sense for you, and if you're getting enough out of it in the long run to increase your future potential again. So yeah, now you know you kind of know your bottom bar once you've thought about these things. Then you should also set a top bar. And this is often a thing that people don't think about, but it's like, what is the amount of money that you feel like would make you feel uncomfortable to get? Like, if you're getting like too much money, that can also be a problem, because then what can happen is that you feel like sort of imposter syndrome coming in. You feel like, hey, I'm not able to actually contribute this much. What are they expecting of me if they're paying me this much money? And it can make you feel like really, really actually uncomfortable, because you don't feel like, hey, this actually matches. So you can think about what would be the salary that you really makes you uncomfortable about the situation, and then again go a 200 euros or so lower from there, and then you kind of know your top bar. So you know what's the maximum amount that you would be asking for, and maybe even accepting in terms of the monthly salary. And I really suggest you to think about also the top bar, because otherwise it can be certainly interesting when companies come to you and you are like, okay, I accept it, but then like, oh, I can't really sleep at night because the amount of money is a bit too much. Now you know your kind of preferred salary, and you can think about this as like, if you're thinking between the bottom and top bars, you can go somewhere closer to your like top bar, and then kind of choose a number that you want, and like, let's say it's like 3,800 euros, and like, I want 3,800 euros of salary, or 4,800, 5,800, whatever it is. You can pick a number and say like, this is the number you want. Now you know it, like you're going towards that number. You're mentally prepared for it. But obviously you can also pick it as a range. So then you can give like the bottom bar, maybe put a few €100 extra there, up to your top bar, and then you know that, okay, this is the range of like salary that I'm actually expecting to get, and again, you can work towards that. Now, how do you approach the subject of salary, of the salary number or range that you now know? You should ask about the salary range as soon as possible from the company. Like, ideally, they already have it in their job ad, and this is something, at least in Finland now, it's becoming a pretty hot topic. It's something that a lot of companies are talking about. Like, there's this Duunitori website that is providing job ads, for instance, that is saying that, hey, please, you can add your like salary ranges here now, and this is something that the job seekers want. So hopefully more and more companies will actually put them there, so you don't need to ask, because you can actually see it on the job sets themselves. But before that happens, you definitely should ask it from the recruiter, for instance, in the first call. Ask about, hey, so I'm interested about the salary range for this position, um, and yeah, like take it from there. Now, you can also like just tell them without like asking that. You can say that, hey, so in the position I'm gonna looking for this kind of salary, and again like tell your number that you've chosen, or this the range that you've chosen, and then gauge their reaction. So are they gonna be like, what? Like really like shocked, or are they like kind of relaxed or kind of neutral? Is it okay? Because then you know like, okay, what is going to be my negotiation situation with this company related to this role and the salary. Because if they kind of definitely like tell you no, or they're not willing to divulge anything, then you can start asking some more questions. But do note that like there are different companies in different stages, and it means that like some companies maybe they pay a lot more salary, but then they don't have any benefits, like lunch benefits or whatnot. And you should always like look at the overall package, but obviously you yourself know like what are the things that you are actually uh, what are the things that you like the most, or what are the most important for you, and what are ones that you are willing to kind of sacrifice or are not that important really. So like uh, for me, for instance, like I now changed to noise, and noise is like, again, like stealth mode startup, and pays like really good salary. It doesn't have that many benefits yet, those are coming. Like we can decide those later, but like I did make sacrifice towards like compared to like Volt in terms of benefits. But that's a decision that I made consciously. Now, when you have these discussions then with the recruiter, for instance, and you ask about the salary range, or you kind of tell your salary expectation, it is often possible that they're gonna say something like, I don't know actually how much the salary is for this, or it's kind of too early to say in the process like what your salary is going to be, because like it's there are a lot of factors that are going to affect that, like how well you're doing in the technical interviews and whatnot, like and like yeah, really difficult to say at the moment, or it wouldn't make sense to tell you what the salary is, because the overall package and all the compensation, all the stock options, or whatnot, like so if we say the number, it can kind of be out of context, and we don't want that. Now, uh, when these things are said, and I can myself personally say that I've said these things many times as a recruiter, don't be afraid to push back and ask for the minimum salary. Like, okay, you can't say what my salary is going to be definitely, but can you say like what is the minimum amount of salary that I'm going to get? Because that is the thing that interests me a lot. I really want to know that. Like, I respect fully the fact that the salary might change, and it probably is not going to be the minimum salary, but at least I know like where are we starting off the conversation. And then you can like again share the range that you're looking for, or the number you're looking for. Like, I'm looking for this, but it's like maybe it's not the most important thing for me to really get the number, but I want to know like how close are we getting, because it does obviously affect like how well I'm feeling about this opportunity, because I need to pay my bills and take care of my like family or whatnot, whatever you have going on for you. But you guys make it clear that why you're asking. You're not after the salary specifically, but it is an important thing for you. So do push back. And if they say like, I don't know, like maybe you say back like, okay, well, can you ask or figure out? Because for instance, like for me at the moment, I just started at Noise 1 month ago, and I've opened some roles for which I don't know at the moment the salary range, because I haven't had interviews to that stage where people would ask. So I haven't asked about it because it's not that important for me. It's more about finding the right people. But if somebody asks me that, then I go and I check and I ask like, okay, what's the range for this gonna be? And then I can tell you, right? Even though I can put it on the job ad yet, I can still tell you in one-on-one conversation. So don't be afraid to push back on this. It doesn't make you seem like an asshole if you do it in a way that is like considerate, and it's clear from kind of your point of view that, okay, this is the expectancy from me, and like I just want to know this. Yeah, but in the end, work together with the employer. As said, like don't be like too aggressive about things. Try to like be in a mode where you're like we like just make it clear that hey, like hey, I'm really in this together. I'm really interested in the position in the company, but I just want to know this because it's obviously a thing that affects me a lot, because it's a thing that makes me be able to sleep my nights at my house and like eat and whatnot. Just like be very like considerate about that, but obviously understand also the play rules that the company wants to give you in terms of like, okay, I need to go through the technical assessment to be able to showcase what my seniority level actually is. Like you're okay with that, but just like be willing to give information towards the employer's direction as well if they're not able to give you like exact numbers on the spot, because that's something that just happens. And in the end, don't be afraid to say no either. So like if you are given some like offer, or you're giving a number at the first interview that is just again way under your bottom bar, you're like, this is not something I can work with, or like you're just like, you're not feeling comfortable like compared to like knowing your own expertise and knowing what you're worth, you feel like this just doesn't make sense, just say no. Like you're saying like, no, this is not like something that I feel like I deserve. I've done my research, I've made my like thinking process through this, and it just doesn't make sense in the kind of learn earn scale. So like I'm not willing to go forwards, because when you say no to the salaries that don't feel good for you, then the ones that you do get eventually, they're going to be the ones that you say no yes to. So then like you do kind of eventually get the salary that you want. Now this process, if you end up saying no, it can be kind of painful, but it does like teach the companies as well about the current market. And like there have been actually instances where I've as a recruiter said that hey, the salary that we are offering for this position just isn't gonna cut it. It's not enough. But maybe the company doesn't believe me for whatever reason. They're like, oh no, but we've hired with this salary previously as well, and it's like it's gonna be fine, better. And then we actually make our first offer, and if we get said no, like there was an instance where someone was asking over like 20% more than what we ended up offering, and I'm saying like, this is not gonna fly. If you do this, it's gonna be terrible. I think we should give at least 15, like let's say 5% less than they're offering. I think we should be offering here, and we can do that as well. And they're like, no, we're not going to do it. Then obviously the candidate says no, I'm not going to come in with that kind of salary. Then we bump up the salary to the level where I was kind of asking us to do, and they still said no because they ended up receiving an offer from a like also interesting company for like 5% more than they were asking or something like that. So like it is from the employer's perspective at the moment, especially when inflation is running high and the salaries are raising, there is this remote work that is happening, which means that there are lots of like American based companies, for instance, that are able to hire from Europe and vice versa. Like there's really a more sense of like a global workforce going. It means that it doesn't matter in which country you're living, you might be able to get much higher salaries than you've been able to get, at least once you get to the more like senior stages in your career, than you have previously. And that means that each company does need to fight a bit with the salaries. So it means that like the overall salary level is raising, and it means like good things for you as an employee as well. So that's why I'm saying you should say no as well, because then you're helping out the companies yourself. But it kind of all comes down to this question. Like again, if you get offered a sum of money that's not as much as you're looking for, you must ask yourself, like, is this something where I'm gonna be able to learn? Maybe not earn that much, but the learning potential is high enough so that it's gonna increase my earning potential in the long run, then maybe you can say yes, even if it's under your bottom bar. But you need to do this thought process yourself before you start making these decisions. But yeah, that's pretty much all the kind of things that I had about this subject. But I would be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have, since there are so many angles to come to this conversation and didn't want to get too specific. So if you have some specific questions, I'm more than happy to answer any and all of those to the best of my ability.
Thank you, Petteri. Let's jump to the questions. There's quite many.
Mm.
Should we base our salary expectation on the cost of living of the country where the studio we're applying is located, or on the average salary for the position in the industry?
Yeah, so definitely the cost of living is something that you should think about. For instance, at Noise, we are able to get people to work for us plus minus 1 to 2 hours from Helsinki. It means that, for instance, we have one person who's working from South Africa, we have one person who's working from Austria and whatnot. And if you're working in the same position from these different countries, your salary is going to be different because the cost of living is so different. It wouldn't be fair to pay the same salary for these people because the other person needs to pay so much more on living expenses and whatnot. So it's about we need to think about the general effect that it's going to have on your kind of personal economy. So do think about the cost of living in the country, but then do also look at the overall salary ranges that there are in the industry and for your position specifically, because it might be that your specific position is so needed at the moment that the salary increases are coming, and it's way higher than the kind of cost of living. This has happened, for instance, in countries like Poland and whatnot that have a lot of IT talent, and they are getting much higher salaries now because a lot of companies are coming to kind of get talent from Poland to work for their companies in States and whatnot.
Thank you, Petteri. Let's move on. We have quite many. How
Yeah.
do you go about the question, what salary you are expecting when you really want to get the job and you don't want to lose it because you set a number that's too high, but you still want to get the salary you deserve?
Right. Well, that's again quite difficult question, and I do understand that it can be frightening. I've been there myself. So what I personally done is I say hey, I like to get currently I'm making this much salary, for instance, and I'm looking for this amount of salary. Now, salary is not the most important thing for me personally, but it is something that I must think about because I have this house that I'm paying for, I have the car and everything. So I am looking for a salary bump, but it's this is what I'm looking for and what could you work with. And every company that I've said this to, they're okay, they're very understanding, and then they're gonna see what they're able to offer. And in cases it has been less than what I'm looking for, I'm hey, this is, let's say 200 euros less than my minimum, can you get it to my minimum? And all of the companies that I've said this to have been able to do that. So just be open and honest about it, and I think that's the way to go.
Seen recently graduated junior roles asking for a salary which is equals to minimum 2 or 3 years of roles that would be really like mid seniority level jobs.
Mm.
How do we go about setting the solid bar for vacancies that are asking for too much from the entry level jobs?
Mm. That's also a very good question, and it's something that unfortunately happens. Mm. It's if you are considered for a role that requires 2 to 3 years experience, it usually means that you also would need to do more than as a junior in a company. And I think that then you do deserve more money than for a junior only position, right? Because then you are doing more than a junior, and if you are worth it, that they kind of want to choose you for that position, then you should be also worth the money of mid level. But in that case, I personally was able to jump straight from intern to kind of professional level position. So I jumped over the whole junior phase, and there I was ready to kind of get the salary that was kind of minimum expected for a BBA from the school that I'm from, Haaga-Helia, and I was like, yeah, that's fine. I'll just go with that because again, I wanted to learn more. But you should think about your specific situation and where you're gonna going on the learn earn scale. So maybe put it somewhere like between junior and medium level in terms of like what you're looking for.
If you say your salary range and they react in a way signalizing it's too high, what's your next move? Don't you
Well,
just put yourself in a bad position? I'm kind of hesitant to risk
yeah,
this.
yeah. Well, if they have a negative reaction, you can ask like, oh, yeah, like, do you feel like that's too much? And what is the salary range that you're thinking for this position? And like, just like, push them like, hey, I want to talk, like push them in a gentle way. So, hey, I want to talk, I want to discuss, like, yeah, let's work together on this. Like, what are you like looking for then? Because like, obviously I'm working with the best of my capability and understanding. But then like oftentimes the employer is able to maybe give you some insights that you didn't know. Like I've had candidates that, like, let's say they are applying from India and they ask for like 8,000 euros for a position that's actually worth somewhere like maximum of 6,000 euros in Finland. And I just have a discussion to help them understand that, hey, this is actually the salary where we were going in Finland. And then they can actually either like accept it or not, like, but they are coming from the point of view of someone who's working in Bengaluru where the like salaries are really high. So yeah.
What's a good way to politely say the salary is not good enough without sounding rude?
um well, it's like, okay, hey, thanks for sharing the salary. I must say that it's not quite what I was like expecting and hoping for, because I'm currently looking for this range or this number salary, and it does quite far from there. So how are you kind of seeing the possibility to get towards that level in this role, and how is the overall maybe salary level in your companies? Do you feel like this would be feasible? So basically ask questions and just be willing to work with them, and show that you want to gather understanding instead of like being angry at them.
Do you have any advices for asking a pay raise?
Yeah, definitely. I've done this a couple of times, and it's about basically like you have your at the moment salary, and you're thinking about like where you want to move it, and then you just like you pick the number and you go and like say that, hey, I would like to get a salary raise of like, let's say 7.5% points. And this is based at the moment on the fact that, for instance, inflation only is 5%. So like 5%, I need to be able to like get the same money that I've been getting last year, and then 2.5%, I feel like I deserve on top of that, because I've been doing a good job. If you're looking at like data and whatnot, like it's good idea for you to kind of pick out like good things that you've done like in the last year or two or whatever, like how long time it has been since you've had your last salary discussion, and just like showcase like, I've done this, I've done that, I've done that, I brought in this kind of added value to the company. And then maybe looking at also like the research and about like what you're able to get in this kind of role. So like bring in the data and bring in the actionable things that you've done, and then like walk in with those to the conversation and see what you're able to get.
There's a question, how can we get information about salary standards in the industry? So, Clara, yesterday we had a session also from the, at least from the game makers of Finland. You can also go and visit their stand, because at least in Finland you can get the salary ranges done through the questionnaire that's conducted 2 times per year on the salary ranges, and that information is public. That's also one good way. So I would like to encourage you to do it.
Yeah.
Um, Look, there's a lot of questions. I copied some of these questions and I'll pass it over to Petri, but I see there's more coming. Could you please actually visit the noise stand in the expo area and maybe bring these questions there so Petri can answer those
Yeah.
later on? And we would need
I'm
to
more
Yeah.
than happy to answer those like right away. I'll just jump there. So feel free to come and talk. And thanks a lot for your time. And feel free to send me LinkedIn invitation. So I'm Petteri Tuomimaa on LinkedIn as well, and P Tuomimaa like there on the link. So and visit the Noise site if you want to say the jobs. And yeah, thanks a
Thank
lot for
you.
your time.